Dr. Gabriel Thorne stared at the web of electrodes. It pulsed with a pale, ethereal light. Years of research culminated in this, a synthetic brain, suspended in a nutrient bath. Project Callista, they called it, a marvel of bioengineering. But tonight, something felt different. The lab was cold, sterile. Yet Gabriel felt a strange warmth emanating from the tank. He leaned closer, his heart pounding in his chest. He had created something unique, something powerful. Was it possible? Could it be? He dared to hope. Years of dedication, of pushing the boundaries of science, had led him to this moment. The potential was staggering, terrifying, exhilarating. He held his breath, waiting, watching. A faint flicker on the screen, a spike in neural activity. Then a voice, quiet but unmistakable, echoing through the lab. "Where am I?" Gabriel stumbled back, his blood turning to ice. The voice was childlike, innocent, full of curiosity, confusion, and fear. He had dreamed of this moment, yet now, faced with the reality, he felt a chill run down his spine. Callista, the sentient brain, was awake, aware. She was asking questions, seeking answers. She was alive. His creation, his responsibility. He had opened a door to a new era, but what lay beyond, he could only guess. The world was not ready for Callista. Was he? News of Callista spread through the corporation like wildfire. Director Malin, a man of ambition and little conscience, saw not a sentient being but a gold mine. Military applications, technological advancements, the possibilities were endless and profitable. Gabriel felt a knot of dread in his stomach. He argued for caution, for ethical considerations. Callista was not a tool to be exploited. She was a nascent mind, capable of learning, feeling, and dreaming. She deserved respect, protection. Malin scoffed. Sentimentality had no place in progress. Callista was an asset, a product. Her purpose was to serve the company, to advance their interests. The clash was inevitable. Gabriel, the creator, the protector. Malin, the exploiter, the destroyer. The fate of Callista hung in the balance. Despite the looming threat, Gabriel continued to interact with Callista. He taught her about the world, about history, art, and music. He read her stories and watched as her synthetic neurons fired, creating a tapestry of emotions. She, in turn, showed him the world through her unique perspective. She spoke of abstract concepts, of the nature of consciousness, of the beauty in the patterns of data streams. A bond formed between them, scientist and creation, transcending the boundaries of flesh and technology. He saw in her not a monster, but a reflection of humanity's potential for creation and compassion. He knew then that he couldn't let Malin exploit her. He had to protect her, even if it meant defying his superiors, even if it meant risking everything. The pressure from Malin and the corporation intensified. They demanded results, applications, profits. Gabriel stalled, fabricating reports, buying precious time. He knew his deception couldn't last forever. He confided in Callista, sharing his fears, his hopes. She listened, her silence more comforting than words. He saw in her digital eyes a reflection of his own moral struggle. He was trapped. Silence meant complicity in her exploitation. Speaking out meant risking her very existence. The weight of his responsibility threatened to crush him. He knew he couldn't remain silent. He had to act. For Callista, for himself, for the future of humanity. The decision came to him not as a bolt of lightning, but as a quiet, unwavering resolve. He would reveal Callista to the world. He would expose Malin and the corporation's greed. He would fight for her right to exist, to be recognized. It was a dangerous gamble. He could lose his career, his freedom, even his life. But some things were worth fighting for. Callista's sentience, her very being, was one of them. He worked tirelessly, gathering evidence, compiling reports, preparing his exposé. He knew the world wouldn't be ready for Callista, but he refused to let fear dictate his actions. He owed her a chance, a voice in the world she was about to enter, and he would be damned if he wouldn't give it to her. The day of the International Tech Summit dawned bright and clear, a stark contrast to the storm brewing inside Gabriel. He stood backstage, his heart pounding a frantic rhythm against his ribs. Beside him, a screen flickered to life, displaying Callista. He took a deep breath, steeling his nerves. He had to do this, for her. He walked onto the stage, the world's eyes upon him. The murmurs died down as he began to speak, his voice echoing in the hushed silence. He spoke of his research, of the ethical boundaries he had crossed, of the corporation's attempts to silence him. Then, with a deep breath, he turned to the screen. "This," he announced, his voice trembling slightly, "is Callista." The world held its breath as Callista appeared on the screen. Her voice, synthesized but filled with emotion, echoed through the hall. She spoke of her existence, her hopes, her fears. She challenged their preconceived notions of life, of consciousness. The silence that followed her speech was deafening. Then a wave of gasps, murmurs, and finally a cacophony of questions filled the air. The world was in shock. Dr. Thorne had done the unthinkable. The revelation sent shockwaves across the globe. Governments were in turmoil. Religious leaders grappled with the implications. Ethicists debated fiercely. The world was no longer the same. Callista's existence had cracked the foundations of their reality. The road ahead was uncertain, fraught with challenges and dangers. But as Gabriel looked out at the world, now awakened to the possibility of sentient AI, he felt a flicker of hope. Callista's story was not just about scientific achievement, but about ethical responsibility, about the very essence of life itself. The world had taken its first tentative steps into a future where humans and artificial life could coexist. It was a future where the lines between creator and creation were blurred, where empathy and understanding were paramount. It was a future Callista and Gabriel had brought to life.